Once again, you already know what time it is. It is Saturday morning and it's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. And of course, you are here with Coach Steele, and we are here with Coach Steele's Finance Training. And of course, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, and also on TikTok. And I am happy to have another conversation with you as usual, like we always do every Saturday morning about financial literacy. And so, of course, I am your host, and I want to welcome you again. I am Coach Steele, and you're here live with Coach Steele's Finance Training. And as usual, like I always tell everyone, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that is at Coach Steele's Finance Training. We have an awesome conversation on today for everyone to dive into. It is great. As you all see the subject here, the subject is live off of what you produce. Live off what you produce. What does that mean to you? Live off what you produce. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, if you hear the phrase live off what you produce, what does that mean to you? And as you tune in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, you already know how we enter the room. You leave something in the comment section. Tell me good morning or whatever time zone you're in. Greet me, meet me. I want to be able to give you a shout out. Okay, we got Mr. Tony Sherman already commenting, jumping in. Good morning, all is what Mr. Tony Sherman says. So good morning to everyone. And our subject on today, I'm excited about it. It is called Live Off What is Produced. Live off what is produced. What does that mean to you on today? As you hear the subject, live off what is produced. How do you do that? What does that mean? I want to hear your thoughts and comments as we go through this training on today. And as you see down there, that bottom ticker, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you invite someone. Make sure you share this live as well, because we are talking about all things financial literacy when it comes to Coach Steele's finance training. And we take the complicated things and we make it simple. We simplify it so that everyone, the average person, can understand what we are talking about, so that you can grow your own wealth empire, your financial kingdom for you and your family, so that you can have good success. Good morning to you, Mr. John Johnson. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. So let's take a look at what we got today in this subject as we talk about live off what is produced. I love this subject. As I went walking this morning, I was thinking about what if you could live off what is produced. I wish in America we had a mentality that we live off what is produced as opposed to eating the seed. I'll let that marinate. I'll let that sink in. Sometimes we try to live off of what is produced instead of living off of what is produced. In America, culture, mentality, society, we just try to eat the seed. Y'all are rolling on in here on this morning. Good morning, Shauna Johnson. Happy to have you tuning in. Good morning, Mr. Tim Scott. Happy to have you tuning in. Good morning to my lovely wife. Happy to have you tuning in. And so anyway, as we continue to move forward and we are talking about live off what is produced, do you eat your seed? In this American culture and society, we are trained and taught. Listen to what I'm saying. This is very important. We're trained and taught that when we earn seed, when we earn dollars, we go spend it. In other words, we go eat and spend the seed immediately. We do not give ourselves time for our seed to grow and nurture and to produce a tree. So we live off of what seed we earn, and we don't live off of what is produced. And so I want to help you to shift your mentality on today. When we talk about Coach Steele's finance training and what we are teaching today, I want you all to learn how to shift your mentality and think a little bit different than the way you have been thinking before. And so that's what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about shifting your mentality when it comes to your money and what you do with your finances. Yes, what you do with your finances once they enter into your wallet, once they enter into some type of digital account, your bank account, once somebody gives you a paycheck and you go cash it. I want you to shift your mentality on today on what you do with it, how much you do with it, why, the percent, all the way down to the detail. I want you to be able to get very strategic with what you do with your seed, because we have to shift our mentality and learn how we to live off of what the seed produces and not eat the seed. Now, when I was younger, I used to love sunflower seeds. I could take a handful of sunflower seeds, put them in my mouth, and I would eat up all the sunflower seeds. So we don't want to have that mentality when it comes to our money. And so in American culture, in our society, different people coming from different walks of life, you have to think about this. Some people have inherited trees that produce fruit. In other words, some people were naturally inherited, gifted life insurance or legacies, or were in a trust where they just naturally receive money every month. They naturally receive produce from a tree that was already built before they got here, or that was in the making until they needed it. In other words, they were inherited certain things. And so life may be a little bit easier for them. But I want to talk to people today that may not have their tree completed, that may not have finished growing out their wealth, or that they're just getting started. And I want to give you some nuggets to help you be able to live off of what is produced. Some other people would say, can you live off the interest that your money makes? How many of you all are making interest on your money? How many people, as you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, how many people are making interest on their money? I don't care if it's small or large. Guess what? You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere in life. And so when you start somewhere in life, I don't care if it's a high yield interest savings account. It doesn't matter if it's a high yield ETF. It doesn't matter if it's a money market account. It doesn't matter if you have invested in one or two dividend stocks and you're making dividends off of your stocks, whether it's quarterly, annually, monthly. How many have already started the process of living off or earning money from the tree that you have allowed to grow, nurture, develop? And see, that's why it's important. Because when you get seed, when you get money, when you get dollars in your pocket, you have to learn how to put it to work. Because what happens is if you start spending the initial money that you have, then you're always spending the seed and you never give yourself time to produce a financial harvest. Listen to what I'm saying on today here at Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. Shauna Johnson, I see you in the comment section. Live off what your seed produces. That's good. Good morning to you, Crystal Moore. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. Y'all listen to these nuggets that I'm saying on today. We have to learn to be creative with where we move our money and why, so that we don't just spend it. When you spend your seed, when you spend your base amount, when you spend what you have coming in, there's no opportunity to increase it or grow it because it just depletes. All it does is deplete every single time. We get it, we spend it, deplete. You start back over from scratch. Many times you've heard me on Coach Steele's Finance Training talk about, in America, about 70% of people, guess what, are living paycheck to paycheck. What does that mean? It doesn't mean 30% are not living paycheck to paycheck. It means 70% are paycheck to paycheck. And there's a large number of people that can't even live paycheck to paycheck. It's worse. They are, I don't even know what you call it. They're living month to month with not enough money. And so there's a large percentage of that. And there's a small percentage of people that are able to put money away to the side every month because they have something left over. And so as we talk about living off of what you produce, I'm talking about your financial tree. I'm talking about your assets. Wealthy people, we want to buy assets that will produce interest or that will produce some type of fruit for us to live off of. And I'll go in more detail in a second. But as you're tuning in on today, make sure you say good morning. If it's your first time visiting Coach Steele's finance trainer, you can write in the number one representing your first time tuning in. But here on Coach Steele's finance trainer, we talk about all things financial literacy, and we talk about the basic fundamental things, because most people, they want to rush and get rich quick, but don't know even if they get the money. Good morning to you, Gracefully Planted 2020. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training. Most people, even if they got wealthy, even if they came into a large sum of money, they would not know what to do with it because they don't have a plan. They don't have a system. They don't have structure. They don't have fundamentals and principles in place on what to do with the money. They just think if they get a lot of money, then everything will get better. But no, you can run through that money and it will deplete. There's plenty of people tuned in on today where you've probably gotten some money and then you look back and all the money was gone. Why did that happen? Because you didn't have a plan in place and you may not have known how to live off of what is produced. So imagine this. Take your mind here. I want you all, and if you're driving, don't close your eyes. I want you all to close your eyes and imagine this big, beautiful fruit tree. Whatever your tree is that you like, whatever type of fruit. Do you like mangoes? Do you like apples? Do you like blueberries? Do you like oranges? Whatever is your favorite fruit. And I know there's other fruits out there that look like what we think are vegetables. So whatever your fruit is, in your mind, just imagine that big, beautiful tree with all of that fruit. Now, you see all of that fruit. I want y'all to go here with me. You see all of that fruit hanging from the branches, hanging from the limbs. You see the leaves. It's beautiful. It's colorful. And then someone wants some fruit from your tree. So then they go cut down the tree, or they, depending on what size of the tree, or pull that tree up out of your garden or out of your farm. They pull it up out of the ground and they walk off with the tree. They walk off with the tree that had all the fruit on it. Now, how much sense does it make to take the tree that's producing all of this beautiful fruit, that has all of these beautiful fruit sitting there on the limbs, on the branches? How much sense does it make to go and pull up the whole tree when guess what they could have done? They could have gotten as much fruit off of that tree. They could have cleared the tree out of all the fruit that was on the limbs. And what would have happened? Somebody in the comment section, if you go harvest that from that tree, from that fruit tree, what will happen a few weeks later? In that comment section, as you're tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training, we are talking about if you have a fruit tree and you cut all the fruit off of the tree, what will happen a few weeks later? What's going to happen a few weeks later? As you're tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training, just know we are live on TikTok, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on Facebook. No matter where you tune in on today, make sure you go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's finance training. Make sure you subscribe there. So guess what? If you were to go cut off all the fruit off this tree, later on, a few weeks later, the tree is going to produce more fruit. Why? Because you were living off of what is produced from the tree and not trying to live off and uproot the tree. Think about it financially. Many of us have to learn to do the same thing with our finances. We have to go build what I would call your money tree or your financial kingdom. You have to go build that up. And there's different ways to build it up. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. Yes, Gracefully Planted 2020. It produces more. It produces more. That is the answer when I asked that question earlier. You all have to think about it. You don't want to pull up the tree and you don't want to eat the seed. You want to grow a financial tree and live off the fruit. Many of us, we didn't get inherited a financial tree or some type of trust with a bunch of money and assets and things like that. So guess what? We need to grow our own. And it takes time, it takes patience. And when you grow your own, you will be able to live off of what is produced. It's shifting your mentality. A financial tree, how do you build it? Through investing and through creating an asset as well. Through investing in assets or potentially creating an asset. And let me tell you something. It is not hard to grow your financial tree that can produce fruit in America. Why? Because of two main things. I want you all to remember these two main things. This is going to help you build confidence with growing your financial wealth so that you can live off of what is produced. One is the power of compound interest. If you've never ever used a compound interest calculator to see how your money can grow over a period of time, I recommend that you experiment with the compound interest calculator. Here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, we've used a compound interest calculator many times. I've done demonstrations on here, and you can go find some of those videos on the YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training, and you click on live, it's a live tab, you'll see all the previous videos on there, and you'll see a lot of videos with us using the compound interest calculator. So one easy way, one thing that will help you be able to grow your financial tree is use the power of compound interest to your advantage. And I love the second one. The second way to grow wealth or to build your financial tree in America, oh, I love it. Inflation. If you don't have assets in America, if you don't have a business that provides goods and services, if you don't have assets like real estate or gold or other commodities, if you don't have those, then inflation can be your enemy. Now, I'm talking about how inflation is complementary to building wealth. I know I'm talking about inflation, on how wealthy people will love inflation. Well, depending on what type of asset classes you are invested in, if you have certain assets, then you love inflation. Why? Because inflation increases the value of that asset. I'm still talking about living off of what is produced. Let me go a little bit deeper. Let's say you have an investment property. You have a long-term rental property, and in 2019 it may have been worth $60,000. Well, now that it's 2025 and we went through a pandemic, that same $60,000 property is probably worth $200,000. So it has increased in value by $140,000. But you're still renting out that long-term rental to someone. So when they were paying maybe $800 a month in 2019, now in 2025, for that same 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, they're paying you at least $1,500 a month. Guess what? You pay whatever you had to pay for the financing. So let's say to the mortgage payment, the financing on that property, let's say it was $500 a month in 2019. If you did not refinance that property and it was $500 a month in 2019 and the tenant paid you $800, you had $300 profit. That $300 profit every month in 2019 was $3,600 a year, right? Because you pay $500 a month, you receive $800. There's the difference in the three. Now, guess what? You are living off what is produced through that asset. So when you have assets, you can live off of what is produced. You shift your mentality. You don't want to eat the house, that asset. No. You don't want to demolition the house. No, because that is your seed that became a tree that is now producing $300 a month in 2019. Now we fast forward to 2025. Because you lived off of what this financial tree, this house produced in 2025, when the rent is now $1,500 a month, because of inflation. I'm talking about the power of compound interest and inflation. Those are two ways in America that you can grow your wealth. You can grow that financial tree. That way it can produce good fruit so you can live off what is produced. When the rent is $1,500 a month, but that mortgage payment, the financing for that property is still $500 a month. Guess what? Now your profit is $1,000. 1,000 times 12, you were making $3,600 a month, but guess what? Inflation gave you a raise, and now you're making $1,000 a month instead of $300 a month. So you more than tripled your monthly profits. And so when you look at how you can live off what is produced in America, you have to be creative. I want to talk to my creatives today, those that are listening in that have great ideas, whether it's t-shirts, whether you invent something, whether you make a machine, whether you come up with a paperclip, whatever it is, my creatives, you can live off of what you produce through your creativity. I think this is powerful for my creatives out there. Why? Because if you're creative, if you're constantly creating things, apps, whatever it is, technology, when you create something, you never sell your mind. You never sell your creative side of you. You only sell what you produce. You only offer a service for what you produce. It's the same mentality, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the money you make. You don't want to sell the fruit, creative. You don't want to, I'm sorry, you don't want to sell the seed. You don't want to sell your mind. You just want to sell what your mind creates and produces. And the fruit of that you can live off of because you can constantly continue to create over and over again. If you make one t-shirt that sells to 100,000 people, guess what? Your brain can come up with another t-shirt to sell to another 100,000 people. Now, in the world, there's like 8 billion people in the world. So when you're trying to grow wealth, when you're trying to be creative and produce and build your financial kingdom, your financial empire, you don't need all 8 billion people to buy your product or your services. You don't need a few of them. What if only 100,000? What if 1 million or 2 million use your goods, your services, or whatever it is you produce? So it is not difficult to grow wealth in America if you consistently use the power of compound interest. And of course, if you have assets and use inflation to your advantage. You know, even in the scripture, God told Adam in the beginning to be fruitful and multiply. In other words, live off of what is produced. But we have to be willing to do the work. We have to be willing to be creative, think outside the box, and not limit ourselves. When you get paid, when you get income, ladies and gentlemen, don't rush to the store to spend your money. Rush to find assets. Rush to transfer your money into accounts where your money will work for you. That's where you have to shift your mentality. If you want to learn how to live off of what you produce, you have to rush to buy assets, and you need to be rushing to transfer your paycheck, your income, into your high yield interest savings account, into whatever other investment you have, S&P 500. Maybe you're putting money into your 401k. Maybe you're putting money in your 457, your TSP, your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, whatever it is. You want to rush to find those assets and invest in those assets so that the assets can start producing and you can live off of what is produced. It is possible to grow enough wealth to where if you have a certain amount of wealth, the interest that it makes monthly, you can live off of the interest. And that's why it's important to learn the power of compound interest, or to learn how to create a dividend stock portfolio and invest into that dividend stock portfolio monthly. As you invest into that dividend stock portfolio monthly, guess what? You are increasing your wealth in two different ways. One, you're going to receive monthly or quarterly or annually dividends, and that dividend stock portfolio can increase in value. And so that's why I really like dividend stocks, and I like long-term rentals, because it's like multiple ways that you can grow wealth. Now, of course, real estate probably takes the cake because there's probably at least 5 different ways to grow wealth with long-term rentals. Far as dividend stocks, then of course, it might be 2 different ways that you can grow wealth just strictly off of the dividend stock itself. And so Gracefully Planted says, how do we decide the interest? When you say, how do you decide the interest? I need more detail. Like, how do you decide how much interest you live off of once you grow your financial tree? Is that what you mean? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So how do you decide how much interest you want to make cash on cash return when you're investing in a real estate or investment property? Or some people, what you have to learn, and what I advise you to, if you have a 401k and you're building it up for a certain amount of years, get with a financial advisor and find out, once you have it at a certain amount, whether it's 300,000 in there, whether it's $1 million in there, what is just the standard, what is practical to believe, how much of that will you draw annually? So you'll know, and it'll open your eyes up to realize how much money you actually need in a 401k for you to live comfortably with your monthly expenses and things that you have. These are all things that you need to go knock on those financial doors and go get answers immediately. Okay, gracefully planted said I answered the question. So when we think about this, guys, I love growing fruit. I love growing fruit and vegetables. And one thing I learned years ago, I was growing collard greens. And when I was growing these collard greens, I would always see people pull up the whole plant, boom, and give it to someone. But what I did, and I didn't know any better, I was just pulling off the leaves. I was a rookie gardener. And every time it would just branch out and grow all these beautiful green leaves, these, of course, they're big, not little leaves, I would just pull them off, boom, boom, boom. Okay, then we'd go in the house, clean them, blanch them, put some in the freezer, cook some of them. And then I would come back and more big collard green leaves would begin to branch off. More would keep coming. And so when you plant a collard green plant, when you take that seed and you plant it, if you just live off the produce, those leaves, you pull them off, more will come and you can eat off of that plant for a long period of time, ladies and gentlemen. But that's about shifting your mentality. Oh, this is so good. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, please make sure you share this live so that we can continue to share the opportunity of how important it is to live off of what is produced, how to live off the interest that your money makes, how to use compound interest to your advantage, how to embrace inflation and use inflation as your friend and not your enemy. Because if inflation is your enemy, guess what? It is the silent money killer. Inflation doesn't make noise. Inflation doesn't scream from the mountaintops, but inflation will come suck and take up the value and the power, the spending power of your money. If you are silent, if you don't take action financially, then inflation is not your friend, it will be your enemy. But if you have assets and you have different asset classes, inflation can be your friend and help you grow wealth at a very, very fast pace. So when you put the combination of the two together, compound interest, and use inflation to give you a push financially, then you can grow wealth. You can be a millionaire. You can be a multimillionaire. It's not complicated, ladies and gentlemen. The math is going to continue to math. It doesn't take being a rocket scientist to become wealthy in America. You just have to use the financial tools and principles that are set out right in front of you and use them to your advantage. Use them to your advantage, creatives, as we're on here, Coach Steele's Finance Training. Like I said, if y'all are just tuning in, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, whether you are on TikTok, I want you all to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. We're building up the subscribers, but we are creating a financial community where we can have conversations about things when it comes to financial literacy. We don't want to talk about get rich quick schemes that fail in 2 seconds. No, you need to learn how to gradually grow your wealth and be patient in the process so you don't keep hitting the wall. So many people, they don't know how to live off what is produced because they've been trying to rush to make money. And when you rush to make money, you don't even appreciate what you just did. You don't have a value to it when it comes fast because you always think it might just come again. But it doesn't work like that. You have to be patient, grow your wealth slowly over a period of time, appreciate what is coming into you so that when you get it, you know how to disperse it strategically in a place to where it grows to your advantage. As you're tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, anybody knows I love talking about real estate. I like growing my real estate portfolio, and I've seen the fruit that real estate produces. And I experience the fruit monthly. When you have multiple doors, it doesn't matter. Let's say you only have one door. Sometimes one door may be all you need to help you be financially secure. Like I just mentioned that example, if you had a house that was $60,000 in 2019, it's probably worth $200,000 now. That example is one example from me, except the house wasn't 60,000, it was like 65,000. And the rent was $800 a month, and now the rent went up to $1,500 a month. I talked to my property management the other day, and they're moving it to like $1,600, I believe, next month. And so it is the tree that keeps producing. And you all have to learn how to be creative. I don't want to dive too deep into how you can use the fruit from the tree and create some more trees. I mean, think about it. The fruit from the tree has seeds in it. You can take those seeds, pull out some of those, and create a whole nother orchard, a whole nother tree. This thing is the gift that keeps on giving. Some of you have heard about the Burr method when it comes to real estate investing, how you can buy a property, you can rehab a property, even if it needs rehabbing. Some of them don't. Some of them you can buy as is and they're ready to go, tenant ready. As you rehab, then people will rent it out. Once they rent it out, then they will refinance it. And when they refinance it, basically they pull the equity, they pull the cash out of the bricks and they borrow against it, which is not a taxable event. So now you just got some money and you don't even have to pay taxes on it. But smart investors will then take that money and go create another tree that produces fruit. The tenant where you pulled the money out of will pay the financing on that property back down. You keep the profit there and you produce a whole nother tree somewhere else. Guess what? You're taking the seeds from one asset to produce another asset, and you can continue to do that. And you will produce a great harvest. Guys, I'm talking to you about being able to live off of what is produced, being able to leave a legacy, being able to create generational wealth by using basic fundamentals. But it starts with the basics. Everyone isn't going to rush and buy real estate, but you have to find out what asset you want to invest in. What is it that you're comfortable with? For some of you, it may be ETF, exchange traded funds. For some of you, you need to start with the basics and just build up your savings account to have about 3 months worth of emergency funds in there. Well, if you're going to build up your savings account to have about 3 months worth of emergency fund, don't build it in a regular savings account where there's less than 1% interest. No. I mean, think about it. They say inflation is like 2 to 3%. It's probably much more than that. And so a regular savings account that's making less than 1% interest is not even growing with the same rate as inflation. So now inflation is the enemy to where your savings account is. So guess what? You want to put that emergency fund, you want to build it up and grow it in a high yield interest savings account where you can make maybe 3.8 to 4% interest. Now you're being able to compete against inflation or at least keep up pretty decent, right? But you're investing in an asset class. You're investing in that. And so your money is working for you and it's going to make interest. And eventually you may use that interest to pay a light bill, water bill, or whatever it is. You can start with the basics and build yourself up. I'm not saying everyone overnight is going to go buy $100,000, $200,000 worth of dividend stocks and be able to enjoy them, the interest, the dividends from that, or be able to go buy a whole real estate portfolio, although it is possible for everyone to do. But anyway, on Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, I appreciate each and every person that tuned in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. Once again, make sure you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Coach Steele's Finance Training. We would love to have you over there, part of that family, the YouTube channel family, as y'all are tuned in. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section. I'll go back and read them and check them out and try to answer any questions that I can answer. If not, I will point you in the right direction. If anyone's interested in learning how to pay their house off at an accelerated rate using the HELOC strategy, make sure you get in contact with me. Leave me a message or shoot me an email. You'll see my email down there at the bottom of the ticker, and I can get you in the right direction. If you're looking at getting rid of not just your mortgage, but let's say you have a mortgage, car loans, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, all of those consumer debts, and you're trying to pay everything off at an accelerated rate, get with me, and I will get you in the right direction so that you can become debt free, free up that cash flow, and invest in some of these asset classes so that you can live off of what is produced. Awesome time, awesome conversation with everyone here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. I appreciate each and every person as you tuned in and you left a comment. And I see Shauna Johnson on Facebook saying, have a great day and be nice to me tomorrow. I don't know what she's talking about, guys. I'm nice every single day. But anyway, once again, I appreciate y'all tuning in. It's been awesome. My TikTok family, this was my first time going live on TikTok. So I appreciate all of you all for tuning in over there as well. Much love, much love. We want to grow our generational wealth, and I want to help you in that process. And so, as we go through this process to grow wealth, I need you tuned in to Coach Steele's finance training, because we're going to start it here. We're going to testify here. We're going to tell everyone about it here. We're going to scream it from the mountaintops of how we grow wealth as a family, as a community, as one team here at Coach Steele's